It's time to talk about time at a really, really early morning, so I'll do my absolute best to wake you up. Time is a super relative thing. Like last night, I was laying in my bed, quite nervous, and then I thought to myself, so don't worry, in about 7 hours, it will all be over. So I was up there with the hourglass, and it was an endless evening with a super, super fast heartbeat. And I hope and think that this morning it will fly by and we'll all be out and about. Yeah, time, if 1 minute. Okay, yes, there are many ways of looking at time. Time is our friend and often our enemy. I don't remember the last time that it was a friend. It was a long time ago that it just glides by exactly at the pace you want it to. Usually it goes way too fast, and I think you have that too with all your assignments, adventures, and projects. And then I realized this enemy, this ticking clock, is actually also our best friend. We need this pressure and this ticking clock to actually realize and to perform and to achieve. For today, I looked into long time span projects and short time span projects, and I wondered what the time actually has on influence on the way we proceed the assignments, and also does it actually influence the outcome. So on the left, you see short time projects, on the right, long ones, and I realized that with short time, there's not a lot of time to think. You get the assignment or the question, you act straight away, and the stress level is pumping and high just for a short time, but it's about the same level. On the long time span projects, you actually have time to discover, to deepen, to get lost, to get confused, and to experiment. And as I said before, and you probably recognize it also, it often comes down to the last few weeks. Short time span projects. It's often about simplifying your plan, working with intuition, and then also making kind of guides or frameworks so that you also have pleasure. And I think all the time it's good to have faith in all you have done before, and you can rely on your experiences. This was a project done with Marta Veludo and Ricardo Leite. We did it, I think, in just a few nights. We came together. We decided, okay, it's for a Christmas evening. We're going to celebrate the end of the year. Let's make the theme, it's a wrap. It's the end of the year. So the invitation was a wrapping paper. We made, in a short while, some designs, put them through the Rezo machine in different ways without knowing what the exact outcome would be. So it was also about, surprise and looking what would happen. This was a ping-pong session with a designer in Bosnia. I'd never met her before, and in a few nights we exchanged icons of our own country and actually dissolved them into new ornaments that were then placed on the windows of the Bali. This was done with Buster. Also a short time span. It was for Petje Kuće night, which is a time-based presentation night. 20 slides, 20 seconds. So the identity was inspired by the flip clock. And having that, he made the typography, I made the icons. And during the evening, during the presentations, the icons flip like animations, just like the clock does. And so does the type. Other things I do in short times or in my own time is jam sessions with paper, and this was on an evening. I thought, okay, what can I do with just a small amount of paper shapes? I rearranged them and discovered that actually a lot is possible with just very little. We were asked to make a feature set for an animation event, Pictoplasma in Berlin, maybe you know it. It was going to be a club-filling night. We got a little bit scared, but we thought, okay, let's try these jam sessions. We came together for 3 nights, cut paper, and right there and then mixed it all up to tiny, tiny loops. And then with these teeny tiny loops that felt more like TikTok playtime, we filled a club night. Check it. And here we were doing a Berlinesque test in the studio. Okay, then 2 years later, I was asked for Anima Film Festival to make the identity. They asked this in something like March, and the festival was going to be the next year, February. And I've never had that before, that you get asked a year ahead, and that also does something with your mind. If things are asked way ahead, you feel this little seed, it's itching in your body, and it finished just yesterday. And it was a super duper relief. The span or hours weren't so much, but it runs over such a long span of months is something quite different. So I had quite a bit of time to prepare concepts. I sent them, got a reply back, and then realized that with this too much time had maybe made it too complicated for myself and didn't feel really satisfied with any of them. In a kind of panic situation and the question, I thought, well, why not go back to base one, trust on this playing session, and see if I can come up with just playing with paper, figure out if an identity for a festival can come out of this. So again, a database of shapes, and then photography sessions on the table, and just trying to see if anything will come out. In the process, I put into mind the aspects of the festival, the things that were going to happen, and as that kind of settled into my mind, things started to come to life. So these were all short experiments, and in the end, these paper shapes became the iconic head image of the festival. And for example, these paper shapes, together with animator Mitchell Tan and Max Mana, we made into loops for on the website. So it was nice to discover that with just a few shapes, actually a lot can happen and you can surprise yourself. It doesn't all have to be very literal to be readable. And then there's a collaboration of the festival together with Japan. So the sound designer invited his Japanese girlfriend, and we together made this as the leader.
Yoi, action!
Okay, so you're all very welcome to go there. It's very soon already. And from short-term projects to long-term projects, what characterizes them, I think you have the time to research, to brood on it, to experiment, to develop your idea, react and reflect, take sidetracks, get absolutely lost, have panic attacks, and then it's often finished. This project that I did with Jeroen van Leur, the Luchtpost, it was made for a summer show, and we decided to tap into the fact that we're all living super fast and hasty lives. We wanted people to slow down a bit, so we turned an exhibition space into a pharmacy and offered do-it-yourself products that you build and play with. We first had a long session before the exhibition, and then after the summer we were invited for the Dutch Design Week in Eindhoven. And the nice thing of that is that you have a time off your project. You can take a step back, develop it further, or actually fine-tune it the next time that you show it. These were the icons or the slogans for the project. So in Holland, huisartsenpost means where you go to the doctor. So Luchtpost, you see the esculaap. the building kits and the instructions, and were actually the inspiration for also the graphics. So here you see a kind of sketch phase, and here how folding instructions for planes were inspiring the graphics. This was the eventual design for the kite. So the folding lines filled in with just 2 sets of lines and circles and triangles. We silkscreen printed it at AGA, folded them up, stamped them, and it's called the uitwaaier. It's very hard to translate. And this is a fire rocket to celebrate a special moment for you or anyone, any time of the year. The opluchting, which means the relief, especially transported from Belgium in an undercover car. And this is the balsa wood plane. You actually buy the wood exactly like this, so Jeroen figured out what is the smartest way with just very few cutting lines to create a flying plane. You can play with it, but you can also hang it on the wall, and it symbolizes looking things at the situation from a distance for a better overview. These were inspired by Korean kites, signal kites actually. And here you see the exhibition space in the kolen kit, arranged like medicines with an adviesbalie. And there on the right you see how we arranged it differently in Eindhoven with more actually better explanations. And yes, from there we go to the landmark Memory Mark. This was a show, a mini exhibition done in Coco a previous summer. And I wanted to do about summer adventures or adventures. And who is a bigger adventurer than Darwin himself? So I dived into his big discoveries, which took many years, and found it was a concept too far away from my own life. So I asked friends in my surroundings or people I met to describe their fond memory or adventure to me. It was a longer span of time, and during this project I also got inspired to do other things, so I did mini projects related to the theme on the way. A landmark is an orientation point in space, often a notable geographical feature or building, and sometimes an object made by Sue. Landmarks, super recognizable in the landscape, and when you and me or Darwin were actually at the same spot, many years later. And if I would go there again, I would go back in time to what I experienced the last time I was there. So would he. So a landmark is also something to do with memory. And I thought, well, why not turn it around and make a landmark for a memory? So I asked friends to fill in this form and said, I would like to make an object about your memory. This abstract object will be your personal orientation point, instantly bringing you back to that special moment in time. Your memory mark works like a landmark. This was the brooding space, a selection of colors, and I wanted to make each story as described in the most distinctive and simple way possible. So this was Mark. He went to Australia, had a love-making session on Ayers Rock. So he was tumbling and cuddling, and at the same time there were bats flying around. So the colors represent Australia, and I thought this was a kind of cuddling rock object. No one would know this except for he. This was a girl who spent summers in Portugal. This was my dad who crossed the river with his friends in Spitsberg. And this was Marta. And her fond memory was of her first kiss in a bathroom, and she was afraid to be caught. Yeah. I remember the touch of the cold towels and the towels that were hanging behind the door, and the kiss, of course. It was natural and fun and tasted good, but we were afraid to be caught. So you see this ticking, the hourglass for the time passing, and if you look again, you can see two faces that kiss. Being fascinated or researching into the simplicity of shape, I also made pins, because Coco is also a store, and I thought, let's do a little sidetrack. And I also made a mobile, and the mobile again inspired me to work with pins differently. So the pins on the right top here, you can play with on your own shirts, just like the mobile is always changing in composition. And here you see the end result. Then, lastly, a project that I absolutely time ran out. It flew by. This is The Great Escape. It was an exhibition where I made objects that inspired people to escape. And it was not so much to show people how they should do it or when, but to actually make them realize when it is time to go. So escaping from where, or wanting to leave from where you are, is a universal feeling and has many levels. It is time for an escape when you are experiencing the following feelings for a longer length of time. Emptiness. You are very lonely or uninspired. Sadness. You are too sad to tell. Overdose. It is just too much to handle. Or you're super curious and need a change of environment. Everybody has ups and downs and moments where you feel happy and comfortable, or moments when you have this itch or this sadness or the feelings described before. And when this up and down is too often or taking too long, the down, then it's time to make a change. So these were actually the symbols or the concept of the exhibition. You have this notion, it is time to go, to change the situation, to go for a better future, I guess, and then you disappear from where you once were. And I noted that what's keeping you in, or what's keeping you stuck in the place or the feeling you are in at that moment, in this problem is also the solution. It is just a mindset. So the fence, you can turn around and turn it into a ladder. The wall can be a flying carpet. The cage can be a hot air balloon, why not? And the cage also comes a map, a world, and then again, it looks so much like this net. On your house is also your tent. So, for example, this is for someone who's too super duper sad. It's even raining under your umbrella. And if you turn the umbrella around, the diagonals of the rain turn into the sails of the ship. So this then became the inspiration object. This is inspired by a friend. She's always actually not satisfied where she is at that moment. She always wants to be elsewhere and wonders what she's missing out on. So that's the thoughts and the dreams. And then I was also inspired by the compass, the wind vane, and combined that into an inspiration object. If it's all too much. And here you see the graphics that were inspiring to me. I like to dive into books and encyclopedias. And I used a do-it-yourself book for boys from the 50s, I think, to build the inspiration objects. And here you see the state of panic, because I had quite a few, emptiness, loneliness, going crazy, super sad. There were quite a lot of aspects with big plans and inspiration objects, and I realized it was actually maybe too much, and I was running out of time. In this panic situation, my dad came around and he said, "Sue, what are you doing?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm trying to finish it." And then he was looking around and he saw my sketches and he said, "Sue, well, you want to make all these finished objects, but why don't you just also hang your thoughts up?" So the illustrations I showed you before. And that was quite a relief, because I hadn't seen that could also be interesting. The process towards the end plan, instead of only the polished end object. And to the show, people from all over the place came, Pictoplasma visitors, but also quite a few people who came to Berlin came for a change of scenery, a change of running away from a long lost love, or I don't know. So the Berlin and this escape thing was actually something that fitted in quite well, and I hadn't realized before. Okay, and then the super short, long-running project, the Good Luck Pass. I've been making them for about 10 years, I counted. I wanted to finish some today for the next year, because they're actually valid for exactly the year, and then in the next year you get a new one. I have 2 left for this year, and if you would like some good luck for next year, you can just email me. It started as a project where my mom asked me, Sue, can you help me out with Christmas cards? And then I would quickly draw and run things, run to the supermarket and photocopy. So I decided to make not cards, but something that lasted longer. So this was one of the first ones that I would then quickly draw ink into them and make them all different and fill in people's names. And each year, actually, they've changed in theme. So this one's about being invincible. Anything is possible in 2008. And this was the one of this year, looking forward, looking back. So it's about contemplating. And this one here on the left, I was really running late into the January, I think it was already, and I still hadn't made a Good Luck Pass, and it was not a good thing. So I thought, well, why not make this too late theme, the theme of the Good Luck Pass? So it's never too late, and the people who got the card could tick off the different boxes as to what they would like to happen. So, yes, a long-term project, a short-term project, does it actually have influence on the outcome of the satisfaction or of the level of quality of work? I made a graph. So the short-term projects are orange, the long-term ones are purple, and you make, of course, a lot, or personally, maybe other people also, make a lot more short-term projects than long-term projects. So the chances of having, if you do too much at the same time, sometimes things go, but not as you expected. So the outcome of the short-term projects really differs, but the long-term projects, because you have time to change your mind, you have time to experiment and to overweigh your decisions, have always actually come out as satisfactory. And I found that kind of surprising. But looking at the projects, I don't think you really can notice the difference so much. I don't know about you guys. But in all, time as a theme, I also thought, I don't know why, but Gandalf came around the corner and he looked at it a way more light-hearted way. So now we've been talking about time as a heavy entity which is ticking away and has a lot of influence on us. But Gandalf said, all we really have to do is decide ourselves what to do with the time that is given to us. And I thought that was quite a nice way of looking at it. So time is not a big power over us, but it's actually something that we have in our own hands and we can decide what to do. So I thought, well, let's take this thought home for the next year. That was it. Thank you.